Hey there, Minnotank. This is Ken, the founder of Minnotank, and I have Chelsea Brownridge, co-founder and CEO of Dog Parker. We're going to have a quick founder interview today to talk a little bit more about her company and why she started Dog Parker. So, Chelsea, first thing, thank you for being on Minnotank.
Thank you, Ken.
So I want to start off with your passion. Chelsea, we saw from your deck pitch that Winston probably is the light of your life and one of the many reasons why you and many other Americans love to take their dogs out for walks, especially when going on errands. Talk to me about your passion for why you wanted to create this as a business.
Yeah, I think the reason, like you just said, it's a personal problem. I have a dog. I grew up with dogs my whole life in North Carolina, where I'm originally from, and we would walk them around the cul-de-sac in the neighborhood. But when I got Winston, my first dog that I rescued here in a city, I started to realize just how different it is for people who live in walkable urban areas. And so it started from this personal frustration. And I think there's no greater motivation than solving a problem for yourself, selfishly. And for me, it's just been a journey of following that next major question. Am I the only one who has this problem? Let me go talk to other dog owners. And as I continued to answer those questions and realize that it wasn't just a personal problem, that because there are more dogs than children living in our cities, and because brick and mortar is struggling and looking for ways to attract more customers, it became this really unique combination of, I want to solve this not just for myself, but for all the dog guardians and for the store owners and for our communities. Dog owners, or rather dogs, are responsible for more social connection in our communities than church and children. And so the role of dogs in our neighborhoods and in our cities, where we're increasingly disconnected from each other, is not to be minimized. So Dog Parker is really cute and fun, and it's a little dog house, but in reality, we're helping drive traffic to brick and mortar stores. We're keeping dogs safe in an increasingly risky place like cities. And we're creating more community, because making it easier for dogs to be out in our communities is creating more social connection. And ultimately, that's something that I think is good for the world.
I very much agree, Chelsea. And I think that's something that before I came upon Dog Parker, I didn't fully understand the dangers of having a dog in a city. Just because I'm personally not a dog owner, my family has several dogs. But the fact is, when you leave your dog outside of a store, after talking about your business to some of my friends and trying to validate, is this truly a real problem? The problem that here in Chicago in the Midwest, dogs being stolen and ransomed are a constant issue. So validated, couldn't agree more, and it's a huge problem.
Yeah, and not just in walkable places, but in LA, which is a city we'll be going to soon, dogs and cars. So even though it's more of a driving city, it's warm there year round. You can't leave your dog in the car for health reasons and not safety as well as theft. And same thing. So it's tying up in New York and Chicago maybe, but it's also anywhere where you might leave your dog in the car as well. This is a much better option.
No, I couldn't agree more, and it's wonderful. So let me talk about your team, because whenever you're looking at an investment opportunity, especially in the angel space and early stage tech, it's so important to talk about the team, because your concept is phenomenal. No one's questioning the business of being a really smart business. You've proved it out. You're doing well. Talk to me about the team you've built, and talk to me about why you have an unfair advantage to succeed.
Yeah, I think early on our unfair advantage was just being naive. We were talking to a really well-known angel investor in Silicon Valley, and I think one of his colleagues was asking, well, do you worry about competition? And you guys are the first to do this, but who else is going to come and do this? And this angel investor was like, no one else is going to do this. He goes, y'all are nuts. He was like, this is really hard. It's hardware, it's software, it's operations. And
it's regulations, it's city, it's
regulation, for sure. And so we, I think not knowing exactly what we were getting into was our unfair advantage early days. I think if we maybe had done a startup before or something else, we maybe would have realized just how complicated this was going to be. And I think our unfair advantage now is we've gone through that, and we have built this both on the hardware and the software side. We have operated this thing over 2 pilot program periods over 2 years in New York City, and we can answer all of those early questions, all those what ifs, What if, a dog gets stuck? What if someone doesn't come back? All the worst case scenarios you can think of, we've been able to operationalize that and truly build a safe, secure, defensible technology and operations, and a team that's been through that full cycle now, and not an easy one. And I think we've really built up our resilience and our grit as a team to figure it out. Like, we have been through, like most teams, through hell and back to get this thing off the ground and prove it out. And it really feels like we're on the other side of that now, because now we're at the point of figuring out scale. And that's what's exciting, is we can just replicate what we've done here already in multiple markets now, because we've been through that slog at this point.
Well, especially with so many layers of difficulty, from regulation to hardware to software to production to logistics to cleaning. And it's beautiful that you built it. And you did it in a smart place, obviously. New York City, being a very condensed center, allows for you to say, okay, here's how it works in a highly populated area. Let's reproduce this over and over again. But as we talk about scale, I want to go to our next big question, which is right time. Yeah. So, when it comes to investments, we're looking at early stage tech, it often matters. You need to be often either first to market, or some kind of paradigm shift needs to be happening, or just recognizing a big current issue. And I think, at least currently right now in 2018, we're seeing a lot of dog issues on the news where dogs are not being taken care of in airplanes and whatnot. So I would say there's a little bit of honing in there, but talking about why this is the right time for Dog Parker to grow nationally.
Yeah, the reality is dogs, unfortunately, have been getting stolen and left in hot cars, and things on airlines have been happening for decades. What's different now is that with the humanization of our pets, they are members of the family. Those things, our moral compass around those things is more in favor of our pets and making sure that they're as well taken care of as any other member of our family. So I think that there are several key trends to be aware of, and trends that I think that we may have been one of the first to really spot, and given us this sort of insight that allowed us to do what we're doing at the right time. And I truly believe right now is the exact right time. So one, and I've said this already, there are more dogs than children living in cities. That's new, and that's only going up year after year. And the reason that's the case is twofold. One, more and more people are moving to cities. Yes. So I forget some of the statistics, but it's like 80% of people will be living in cities in the next couple decades. And that's a trend that's not going away. People want to live in urban places. And the people that are moving there at the highest rates are young people, millennials, and older people, empty nesters. And they are also happen to be the exact same population that are getting dogs at the fastest rate too. And so you've got this sort of really unique matching of trends that makes the environment perfect for what Dog Parker is doing. And so beyond the sort of demographic trends and sort of location trends that we're seeing with our key consumer, the second piece of why now is the technology. We get this question all the time. Why hasn't someone done this? This is so obvious. It's an everyday problem. And the truth is, and I used to ask myself that too as a non-technical founder, but as I built this with my team and worked with building the technology specifically, the technology we've won frontier technology competitions because that's how new the technology is. And so it's not just a doghouse. It is Internet of Things, IoT, which is very current because, again, that technology is just now available. So it's an internet-connected doghouse with all sorts of remote monitoring, environmental controls, and that wasn't possible in a really secure, stable way until just the last few years. And we continue to push the envelope on what's possible with our technology to, again, ensure that this is the safest, cleanest, most well-monitored, with all the multiple redundancies that you would want in place to make sure that nothing fails, level of technology. And again, not just on the hardware, but on a complete custom back-end software management system, and of course the app that makes the whole thing from a consumer operate really flawlessly. Right.
I love it, especially when it comes to changing that paradigm shift of seeing millennials and not
empty nesters.
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to say like a nice word. I was like,
both delaying children and thus the empty nesters not getting grandchildren, getting dogs.
Sure.
Dogs really are becoming this this very important filler.
So aspect of like the new American family.
Yeah.
So then I want to ask my final question. I'll let you go, Chelsea, because I know you're busy building an empire. But let's talk about your empire. So you're finishing out your second seed round. You guys have successfully raised quite a bit of capital. Where's the future? You know, who's calling you? How many calls do you turn down from Purina? Will they keep blowing up your LinkedIn email box? You just say, enough, guys. Like, I'm busy building this. Come talk to me in 2 or 3 years. What's the plan for the future? And do you have a plan for, my question is, whenever you look at a company like this, when you look at any kind of startup, you're always asking yourself, is it acquisition or IPO? Where would you prefer to go? And if you're comfortable talking about that.
Sure. Yeah. So it's funny, this question about how many phone calls. It's been interesting since we put our first garage built model up, and we built the first 10 ourselves in a garage. We didn't have money for manufacturing. We totally
I love it. Good.
Ever since we put that first, it was. I mean, you look back on those days very fondly now, but it was tough. But when we put those first garage built prototypes out on the streets of Brooklyn, we got, the New York Post was the one that covered us like within 2 weeks. And we were like, we have 2 houses out in this like tiny neighborhood in Brooklyn. Like, how did anyone hear about this? And what I started to realize then, and I guess I should have known, was just this has been such a magnet for a lot of attention. And because we've been so lucky to get a lot of press and different things for what we're doing, we get a lot of inbound requests for different things too. So from brands that want to sponsor, work with us, with location partners that want to be the first of its category to get this, to people all over the world who say, I want to do this. Can I franchise this and we've just not been ready for it. And so we've very politely turned down really amazing opportunities to partner with the largest grocery store chain in Italy and whatever else. Because
amazing.
Yeah, but it just, our technology, we've really put a premium on our product and our technology and making sure everything works just the way, because the last thing we want is to put something out there that would ever put a dog at harm or create a bad customer experience. And so we've just not been ready. We really needed the time here in New York to run the gamut of scenarios and to really keep improving and iterating on that technology. So to answer your question more specifically, what's exciting now is we can now answer those emails in a way that's not, we have to wait, but rather we're ready. And so that's in the short term what's next for us right now is answering those emails and calls and figuring out exactly, while still remaining focused, which is, I think, every company's a task to make sure that you're really just staying focused on your core and what's the next thing you need to prove. But we're starting to be able to take people up on those opportunities. So for us, it's expansion outside of New York City. So new cities, primarily domestically, but we are exploring a couple of international subsidiary conversations at the moment. And of course, improving the technology along the way for remote deployments and building up our remote teams as well. So everywhere we launch, we'll have remote teams. So that's sort of short term is what's outside of New York. Longer term, more on the exit question, I care about building a ubiquitous service that no matter where you go, your dog is going to have that safe option. And so for me, that just means scale. That means getting the right location partners, the right retail chains, the right brands who can help us really, one, educate the population on this first of its kind, slightly kooky, weird, lots of questions thing. And then also just getting them out there so that, again, no matter where you go, you're not too far from having that safe option. So if an acquisition is the way to do that with a really well-known outdoor advertising company, for example, who has contracts in cities all over the country, that would be a really amazing way for us to reach that scale, would be through an acquisition. IPO is just so far down. So I think I would prefer to find that right acquisition partner, either a really large outdoor advertising company, because that's a really core part of our revenue model. And we're in the most crudest words, like a street furniture, so we could be added to their portfolio in that way. Or it could be with the rise of pet tech, there are these market leaders coming out.
Right.
WAG, for example, in the headlines recently because of a big investment from SoftBank.
Yep.
They are looking to make it easier for urban dog parents to make sure their pets are well taken care of. So we're really mission aligned in that way. So you could see as they continue to grow or others like it, that could also be an interesting acquisition opportunity.
Fabulous. Well, WAG has actually talked to Minnotank about pitching on our platform before, so that's wonderful.
Yeah. I know them really well. If you need any help over there.
Well, I know them too, so it's fine. No, you're totally fine. Well, okay, Chelsea. Well, thank you so much, Chelsea Brownridge, the co-founder and CEO of Dog Parker. We're thrilled to have you host on Minnotank. Don't forget, you can go to minnotank.com/dogparker to see all the recorded pitches, and you can also go to wefunder.com/dogparker to check out their crowdfunding campaign while it lasts. Thank you.
It is just end of June on that one, so it won't be too much longer on that one. I think we're maxed out at $1 million on that one.
Okay, so end of June in 2018. So thank you very much, Chelsea, and we appreciate your time.
Thanks, Ken.